Yes, we're back. And I don't know what happened. We don't know what happened. Nobody knows what happened. I'm going to aim this down a little bit. Round 2, pizza. Yeah, Tim's always up for pizza, man. You know, Tim, you talk a lot of pizza game, but honestly, I don't see anything showing up. You know what I'm talking about? You feel me? You know what I'm talking about? You
They have a salad.
Okay, let's try this again. Who's paying attention during round 1?
Now that we got through all the secret game specs.
Yes. Okay, and I have to do that. Okay, if you saw the first video, all of it, especially toward the end, we gave away all the top secret cam videos, all the specs. We gave away this motor. Brian was just randomly handing out camshafts to everybody. Everybody online got a camshaft. It was awesome. You guys all should have been there. And we should have too, except that we lost our connection. I have no idea what happened. So I'm going to have to redo what I did, I guess, on the first one and talk to you guys about what we did today, which was super, super fun. We're doing the following tests. Small block, or not small block, 5.3 liter, Gen 3, Gen 4 heads, 862 or 706. Stock ones, we ran big valve versions. We ran small valve versions with a chamber upgrade. And now we're getting ready to run a ported set, ported by these guys. The two CNC twins here. CNC twins activated. Yeah, we're getting loopy.
It was better the first time.
Yeah, it was. The other thing we're doing today, if you guys haven't seen it, take a look at the video we have up. We ran an L83 and a 6.2 liter LT1 intake manifold test on both of them. On the 5.3, we ran the L83 intake, which actually is very good. We ran the L86 intake, which is even better. And then we ran for all the guys who want like super high horsepower, the MSD intake, charging on the big end all the way up to 513
horsepower.
13 horsepower. See, he remembers. Just
that's because it's his favorite number.
Sharp as a tack.
That too.
Hey, I wish we would have got 13 horsepower.
You know
what I'm talking about? Yeah,
that's tomorrow.
That's another story. And on the LT1, they did the same thing. They ran the stock LT1 intake and the MSD intake, and actually on the 6.2 liter LT1, the gains from the MSD were even more impressive because that one made how much, Brian?
Over 600.
Yes, over 600 horsepower. Think about that. 600 horsepower from a 6.2 stock head, stock bottom end, some sort of mystery cam that we told everybody about earlier when you guys weren't paying attention, and the MSD intake. That's a lot of power.
Yeah.
I mean, what does it take to get 600 horsepower from an LS3 crate motor?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot of RPM.
Way more than that. Yeah. I don't know if you can't. I've never seen anybody put just a camshaft in an LS3 and get that.
Yeah.
You might be able to do it with a camshaft and an intake manifold, but it would be at really high RPM.
Yeah, maybe a CID intake.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, it would be
MSD.
some kind of single plane deal that was way up there, and you'd lose all the torque and stuff. But the MSD actually did very, very well, and that was not like a giant size camshaft. That was way more toward the medium size camshaft.
For sure.
So there you go. You got large camshafts, medium, small. Was that one a VVT camshaft also?
All of them.
And so both the L83 and the LT1, both of them VVT camshafts. So we got lots of cool stuff. I'm going to do a full video on all of the 862 testing and the 243. So for you 243 guys out there, you guys finally get redemption because the 243, don't laugh. It's way too soon. The 243 actually is the cylinder head to beat, and we have to find out if the lowly 862s, and there's some good stories there because that was losing most of its head bolts.
All of its water.
Losing some water.
All the dyno water.
Yeah. Losing all the power apparently too. So it was a lot of fun. You know, as I'm sure you guys know that, and I've talked about it before, and I'm sure Brian hasn't, and Brandon's been around for a long time working with Brian. And so we all know that every test doesn't go according to plan. Sometimes they just don't want to go at all. Yeah. A good example would be this 6-liter junkyard motor over here. That's a perfect example. That would be the one with the giant hole in the pan and some of the bell housing missing. For you guys at home that don't know what that means, that's not good. So I hope you guys brought your questions. Let's get some questions out for these guys and find out. I can zoom in so I can read this stuff. What was the question?
Port finish.
Okay, so somebody had a question on the earlier session on round 1. They wanted to know about port finish versus what
Well, let's just talk about port finish.
Okay, so is port finish important?
Well, obviously it depends, like so many other things, right? So
Yeah.
I think this is great because I don't know anybody else who's actually done this. So whenever I was at Trick Flow, we had a set of twisted wedge, 205 heads, 347, and they wanted to run a faster program with a larger step over. So obviously the port surface got much rougher.
Yep.
And so, you know, I did that port program, the higher step over, and back to back on the engine dyno, you know, the rougher port surface.
Yeah.
Made more power. And we were all, you know, fairly shocked. We're like, wow, that's kind of cool.
Was that on intake, exhaust?
Yeah, it was intake,
just
intake only. Yep. The only change was just change the step over on that intake port. And then, so then we did the same thing on LS. We had the LS1, you know, so we did the Trick Flow 215 head with the two different step overs, and with the rougher step over, it made less power. So
it only works on one kind of engine.
And I think, you know, if you look at the small block Ford, you know, that injector is spraying right on the floor of that intake port.
Yeah.
And I think that rough texture must have helped it. And clearly, the, you know, LS, you know, with that Cathedral port high location and, you know, spraying on the valve.
On the valve.
You know, the rough surface. Actually,
So you think it just didn't have any effect because it wasn't hitting any of it?
Evidently, you know, so that's the rougher surface actually inhibited airflow enough to actually lose power on the LS.
Okay.
I have no other explanation.
Well, no, I mean, some of the theories I've heard is the rougher the texture actually helps to separate the fuel that puddles on the wall. Mm-hmm. It separates that fuel off. It keeps it suspended better. So a rougher texture, you know, like a smooth surface will actually tend to hold the fuel out of suspension. So rougher, it helps the atomization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, what if when you're porting it, you just make a trough so all the fuel that's left there just has a place to run down? Yeah,
just a drain.
Yeah, it just goes right down past the valve. Okay, so what else do we got going on here? What about Dale wants to know, what about combustion chamber finish?
I like smooth combustion chamber finish, and I don't like sharp edges.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's hardly any argument for rough at all.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So
smooth.
You guys did the combustion chambers on the 862 heads, and so the idea was basically to unshroud the valve and allow us to obviously improve the airflow a bit, but there was a little bit more to it than that, right? I mean, you guys went in and kind of smoothed the chamber out, and I don't think we have to worry really about detonation on this application so much, but if you did, that might be beneficial, right?
Yeah. Just getting rid of the sharp edges, any sharp edges that are exposed to the piston. Definitely pays big dividends.
And those LS motors, if you take one of those heads off, especially a stock one, and you touch any of the edges on the head, they will just cut your finger off. And I'm sure that the chambers are the same way. Yeah. Okay. Aaron wants to know, what about golf ball porting?
Oh
what about the dimpling? Dimpling the ports. Everyone wants to know.
Next.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Next. Okay, so here's the thing. Why does dimpling help a golf ball? It helps a golf ball fly further because the dimples cause the air to separate, right? A smooth golf ball, the air stays stuck to it longer, which drags it down. So you want it to separate, right? Well, in a port, what you want, in my opinion, intake port, is you want the air to stay pretty attached until it gets to the seat.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why valve jobs with steps in an intake port always flow more than a radius intake valve job, right? Because that helps the air detach. At least that's all theory and opinion.
Well, you certainly wouldn't want to dimple the short turn.
Right.
I mean, for crying out, you don't want all the.
There's basically
so if you did dimple, it would only be in certain areas.
Yeah. There's basically no place in an intake port that you would want dimple, in my opinion.
What about the exhaust?
You can dimple the exit of the exhaust.
Yeah. So you can dimple the inside of the header tube. Now that's the only place that they're allowing you to do it. Let's see. Have you guys ever run a Holley high ram on an LT?
We've run the Trinity on an LT.
Okay, so the BTR manifold they have run on, and what did it do?
With a really big cam, it made 670.
Ooh, see, that's pretty spicy, and that's on that stock short block motor, right?
The short block was stock, but the heads were this GMPP CNC heads.
Okay, so they sell a ported version of that head? Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Does BTR make custom grinds for 55 millimeter small block Ford?
We can.
Okay.
Nick is your Huckleberry there.
So every 55 millimeter small block Ford question goes to Nick.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. See. he had the perfect opportunity. He should have came in and tripped. That would have been awesome.
He was streaking earlier. Y'all missed it.
Where is the Nova? That's still at home. Let's see. What about, have you ever done any coated chambers?
I have not, which is weird because there's so much coating out there.
Yeah.
I've never back-to-back tested a coated chamber. Always wanted to.
I haven't either. I've only done piston tops, that kind of thing, but not chambers, I don't think. Let's see. Oh, see, this will be an interesting question given what would happen with the 862 heads. Let's see. Is there a point where the percentage of flow on the exhaust can be too high and hurt power?
Sure. I don't know what the percentage is.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, of course it could be too much, but yeah. I mean, then, you know, that would get into obviously camshafts. I mean, it's like,
I think you have to look at it more in terms of exhaust valve diameter and exhaust port volume than flow, because if you've got a stock LS exhaust port of 78 cc's or whatever it is, if you keep that port at 78 cc's with a stock 155 valve and you get it to flow 400 CFM, it's going to make a lot of power. Yeah. Right. Because the problem with exhaust ports is everybody makes them too big exhaust valves, too big of ports.
Now, but Kirby's heads. So I did a set of big block Chrysler Indy heads years and years ago, and those things came with like an inch 800 or something. It was at least an inch 800 exhaust valve. The intake port was really good, but the exhaust was incredible. It literally flowed about 90% of what the intake did. And the guys that we took it to flow after I poured it couldn't believe it. They floated like 3 times. Yeah. That motor made a lot of power, but it was we ran a single pattern cam in it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it did well, but you had to.
Yeah. Too much flow on intake or exhaust will never hurt you. Too much flow there's no such thing. What hurts you is too big a port, too big a valve. Yeah. That's what hurts you.
Or the motor's not big enough. Okay, Boost Lee wants to know, stock LS3 with bolt-ons with the BTR Stage 3 NA cam. It's a manual trans. I think I know Richard's thoughts already. What are Brian's thoughts on keeping the cam and adding a Procharger? So he's got a Stage 3 NA cam, and should he add a Procharger to that?
No problem. That worked great.
See?
It's got good exhaust valve open. Yeah, it'll work.
Richard from Vacaville, yay! Shout out. Have you done any, this is probably for you guys, have you done any high compression NA builds on E85? Nick may have done some of that stuff, huh? Yeah. Nick said yes.
Yeah.
Translation?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Good fellows, we are street racing right now, and I won my first race, and it's all because of this live feed. Not that you're street racing, because that wouldn't be legal, but just winning. We're talking about the winning part. Let's see. When will the L83 and L86 cams be available?
So the first 3 stages are available now, and then the 4th stage will be available soon.
Get that credit card ready.
For the L83.
Let's see. Motorcycle engines work the same way. I know it's off topic, but there's a video I've seen of you saying that you like bikes. I do like bikes, and both of these guys have motorcycles at Brian's house. So yes, all internal combustion engines work exactly the same. A 2-stroke is a little different, but all the 4-stroke stuff works kind of the same. And so if you have, my recommendation is if you have a Hayabusa, yes, you should put boost on it. Yeah, and nitrous, because it's not nearly fast enough the way that it is. Let's see. BTR is 30 minutes down the road, so you're right down the street. I got TEA 243 heads, stage 2, 64 cc, 6 liter, 30 over flat tops, 3,800 pound car, 400 with a 275 first gear, 373, 10. Man, he's got all kinds of stuff. Street, 10-inch converter, street driven, Saturday night. What BTR cam should he have in that combination?
I think I'd go all the way for the stage 4.
Yeah. Yeah, it's stage 4. When's the Hemi stuff coming?
So if you look right over my head here, there's a Hemi right there.
right.
So
right
it's coming.
See, that's a development motor. I run the stage 2 NA cam with an S475 turbo, and it works. You know why that it works? Can you everyone say it with me? Every cam is a turbo cam. Tim Webb says you need to have free BTR merchandise for all the viewers.
Not a bad idea.
BTR plan on testing the LT2 intake soon. And what are your thoughts on DI with PFI on Gen 5 V8 swap or going only to port injection?
You know, we've talked about that. We're going to actually test that back to back. We're going to take an engine that's just DI, and then we're going to convert it to just PI with probably our Trinity intake, because we have those, you know, with and without injectors. And, you know, and see, you know, everybody's got their own theories and opinions. You know, some of us think that the port injection intake is actually going to make more power than the direct injection. You know, but I think it also depends on, you know, if you're at the limit of the octane of the fuel. You know, if you're running 87 octane pump gas, you probably want direct injection to cool the chamber. You know, but if you got E85 like we run our dyno all the time, I don't think you're going to beat the port injection.
Yeah, it's going to work good, I think. The thing that I'm worried about with running port injection versus direct injection on one of these Gen 5 motors is, what about the piston design? Do you think that that's going to be more prone to detonation with just port injection as compared to, because I know that they're trying to get mixer motion with that piston design, so I'm wondering what's happening if you introduce.
Yeah, all those sharp edges would have to be bad for detonation.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Well, Brandon said he'd love nothing better than ports and pistons.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Put them on the sander over there.
Yeah. Just drag them behind this down the road.
Right.
Let's see. Any knowledge of Gen 5 engines having carburetor options, or is that pretty much dead on the, did that end on the LS platform? Are there any carbureted Gen 5?
No ignition control.
Oh, there's no ignition control. Does the, but you
think to run the ignition.
you can run a Holly high ram with 2 carburetors on it, but then you just would never have any spark.
Run a lot of compression.
See, he's always got the answers. Compression ignition.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, just caught the comment on port valve size. Is this less of an issue with boost?
Yes and no, right? Because with a centrifugal supercharged combination, larger valve is fine, right? With positive displacement supercharger, it's still okay. With turbo, you've got to be careful. You can certainly make less power with bigger valves on turbo applications.
Yeah.
Particularly as you get closer to the limit of the turbo and your turbine pressure increases.
Yeah, if you have a situation where you have all the turbo that you need, like there's no class limitation, there's almost no limit to the kind of power that you can make. Let's see, 6-liter flat tops, 20 over, ported 243s, MS3 cam, LS6 intake. What's the big limit? On yours, it's probably the LS6 intake. Working on a 1979 TR7. I like that. Tube chassis, even better with the 408 stroker. It's just getting better and better. BTR stage 2 cam, NA, fast, 102, 4L80E. Okay, that's a good combination. What cam for an all-motor 430-inch Windsor, 13-to-1, TFS 225s from TEA, TND, 356 CFM at 700. Those are good numbers. 282 on the exhaust. Dart, Iron, Eagle. That's got to be a block, right? H13 pins. He's got tool steel stuff. 904 bush lifters. Goal is to make maximum power on the motor.
Yeah,
yeah, Nick can get you hooked up with that kind of camshaft.
Yeah, he can hook you up.
Yeah,
That's a custom cam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as we all know, as we've said time and time again, custom cams are way better than shelf cams. Let's see. If you guys make a manifold for a Gen 3 Hemi, will it be any better than stuff from Holly?
Next question.
You're just
We
supposed
like
to,
Holly.
I do too.
We don't
And
wanna-
he wasn't even, I read it a lot nicer than it's commented here. So that mine was the PG version.
PG version.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim wants to know everything that there is about coefficient of discharge.
It works.
See?
Yeah.
That's it.
Airflow divided by valve current area. It's your friend.
Yeah.
Use it.
Let's see. Holly has a Gen 5 computer harness available, so you could have spark for a carbureted Gen 5. Is that right?
I don't know why you could put Gen 4 coil packs on a Gen 5 engine and fire it with.
If you're running it carbureted, right? You're getting the fuel there, so I don't think it would be a problem. Here's one. Here's a good one. Frank wants to know, is a single pattern cam better suited for a high back pressure turbo engine?
Not in my opinion. No.
Yeah.
I don't think a single pattern cam is better for anything except for maybe grinding the camshaft.
Just makes it easier on the machinery, basically.
Yeah.
You know what? It works fairly well on the like your little torque cam.
Yeah.
For that kind of thing seems to be okay, but you know, even then.
Yeah. You're going for maximum 1500 RPM drivability.
Guys ask me for wide open throttle numbers at idle. Can you be on, somebody said this, can you be on the dyno and hit it off idle and just let it?
Yes, if you load the dyno to 100% and hit it, it will
I told them, I said, look, just do that on a chassis dyno or do it on the street and you can make all that stuff happen. I don't know how many people are at wide open throttle at idle. That's hard to do. It's hard to have both of those. Let's see. Thanks guys at BTR for such nice packaging. See, the thumbs up for the packaging.
Yeah, you know why we have nice packaging? Because after 20 some years of dealing with crappy packaging from too many manufacturers, bent and dented stuff, reluctor wheels knocked off of crankshafts, every aluminum part imaginable beat up. Oh my gosh, I don't know why more manufacturers don't pay attention to packaging.
Yeah.
It's so important.
It is
because
important.
when you finally sell a guy a part and he finally gets it in and he unboxes it, the last thing he wants to see is bent and broken and damaged stuff.
Yeah.
It's
You should have been playing the Jaws in music. Should I port and mill? This is a good one for Brandon. Should I port and mill my stock 862 heads on a 4.8, or should I just get aftermarket heads?
How much time do you have? How much time versus how much money?
I would port and mill them.
Yeah, I mean,
small valve for the win.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I would definitely mill them on a 4.8.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is there any better cam than the? I think we know what the answer is going to be here. Is there any better cam than the BTR Stage 4 for the LS3?
Yes.
Well, I mean, we have the Stage 5, and then we have actually some new stuff we're working.
Where are you at then? If they have a Stage 5, why are you even asking that? Will the Stage 5 fit though? Will it fit stock piston to valve? Okay.
Yeah, with no milling.
Nice. Does anybody know if anybody is going to produce an aftermarket Gen 5 block?
You know, someone's going to eventually produce one. No doubt about it. It's inevitable.
Do you think you could fix a big block Chevy if you ground 8 different cam designs for one engine? Well, the guys at Comp did that. They did their 4-pattern cams trying to crutch the single plane intake thing, and it doesn't do that.
Yeah,
the camshaft doesn't change the intake manifold design, but
what you need to do with a big block Chevy is get rid of the 4 stupid ports. You know, every engine needs to have symmetrical intake ports and symmetrical exhaust ports. Yeah. And if it doesn't have that, mirrored is okay, but symmetrical, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the problem with big block Chevy. You got 4 good ports and you got 4 crappy ports.
And I think that they make blocks and heads for big block Chevys that are symmetrical ports.
Yeah.
It's just a lot, it's just a lot of money.
There's a production symmetrical port head.
8.1.
Right?
8.1.
Yeah.
Let's see. I found the weirdest LS cam ever. It was a 204 222 551 lift, 570 on the exhaust, 112 plus 2. They made 430 on the engine dyno with a stock 5-liter Trailblazer SS intake. 430 with a 204 222 cam.
What heads?
It says it was a stock 5.3.
And what did it say? What intake?
Trailblazer SS, like the one that's on there.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
Oh, this is a good one. I read much debate on spring force with boosted engines. What seat pressure would be the best with a maximum 15 to 18 pounds boost? Red line at 6,500. This is a big block, but it's really applies to all of them.
I love this question because I can give a shout out to Kurt Urban, because Kurt Urban set me straight probably about, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago on this, because so many people are like, oh, if you got, 10 pounds of boost, you got to calculate your valve area, and if you've got 3 square inches of valve area, then you got to have, that's 30 pounds of boost trying to hold the valve open. You got to have, 30 more pounds seat pressure. Well, that's crap, because what you are concerned with is whenever that, like the intake valve, when the intake valve is closing, what's the differential pressure from the back of the intake valve to the combustion chamber? And the answer is it's almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
So for the intake valve, for a supercharged application, you don't need any additional.
It doesn't carry them.
It doesn't care. For a turbo engine where you get, 2 to 1, back pressure, you start getting up to, 60 pounds of turbine pressure and stuff like that. Then you do need more exhaust seat pressure, but that's the only application out there, boosted application, where you actually need more.
You mean in those cams, the boost doesn't just leak out the exhaust side? I thought there must be no pressure over there if it leaks out, right? What cam would you suggest for a high revving LS engine, 8,500 to 9,000 RPM?
Solid roller, custom. If you want to do it hydraulic roller, you've got to have titanium intake valves. You've got to have the right lobes. You've got to have, our ultimate RPM spring kit. That's there's lots of ways to skin a cat, right?
Yeah.
There's no limit. But
do you guys have somebody named Angie working for you?
Who?
Angie. Shout out to Angie from BTR for always calling and verifying that I'm actually ordering a load of parts and sending them to random addresses. So somebody's checking up on it.
Yeah,
he says nothing but nice things about. See, got him triggered and everything.
That's right.
Have you done any work with the 6.6 liter? No, but I did ask Brian about that on my way out here, and that's something we would kind of like to run. I would like to run that truck engine.
Yeah, we ordered a crank. That's as far as we got.
He's just doing it one piece at a time. Next, it's going to be a bolt. Let's see. If there are multiple aftermarket Coyote blocks, sure, it's only a matter of time before we see a Gen 5 block. Are guys making like lots of power with Gen 5 stuff? Are they?
Yeah.
Is that block stronger than like the aluminum LS stuff? Even an L83 or an LC9?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's got bigger bolts.
We just had a customer make 1,500 to the wheels with a turbo app, stock block, stock heads, unported, hydraulic roller, MSD intake.
There you go. Yeah. Good stuff. Great engine.
Oh, here we go.
Port injected.
Oh, it was all port injection?
It was.
Okay. Was it a high ram intake manifold on it?
So.
Okay. Let's see. I have a 1964 Olds F85 Deluxe. Nice. It's an LS swap iron block with 102 millimeter intake, RPM range. Let's see. Sloppy stage 2 cam. You want to run that to 8,000 with a sloppy stage 2 cam?
Did you say 102 turbo?
No, it's 102 millimeter intake, I think.
Okay.
Let's see. 10-inch converter, turbo 400, VS Racing 78 millimeter Gen 2 billet. What cam would you recommend? You want to run to 8,000?
Custom.
Yeah.
Something big.
Yeah, you're going to need something fairly good size for that. Uh-oh. Did I just break?
You break it, you buy it.
Did I break something? Let's see. Do you have dyno results to share for an LS3 BTR road race cam? You guys have a road race cam, right? It's a 235, 250. Why not use 108 to 111 LSA instead of the 113 plus 4? Does it use BTR design lobes? Why does TA2 use the truck intake on an LS3 engine?
So, you can't just say, oh, well, let's put that on a 106 intake centerline, because then you'll hit the valves. The valves hit the business, right? So, you've got to be, you got to keep everything into consideration when you're designing stuff, because not everybody wants to notch pistons. As a matter of fact, most people don't want to notch pistons.
Yeah.
We're dealing with camshafts, so.
But they still want the biggest number cam that they can fit in there, though.
Yeah. That particular lobe, I don't think we did the lobe design on that. As far as our own lobe designs, that's generally for our highest volume camshafts, and I don't think that's going to.
Yeah. This guy said that trick flow advanced the small block forward performance window with the twisted wedge heads. Twisted wedge. Followed by the high ports. Do you see another head casting succeeding the high port stuff? There's something else in the wings that they're going to make that's better than the high port?
For
Ford, yeah.
They make all kinds of stuff that's better than high ports.
Yeah.
Not trick flow. But
No, yeah, well, that's what I mean, yeah. I think he was asking about the trick
flow. I don't know
flow.
what those guys are doing. I don't talk to any of those guys anymore. Yeah. You know, like I said, we mentioned last night we need to get Corey Roth on a lap feed. It'd be good. Okay. Maybe he could talk what they're doing up there.
There you go. For a Procharged street strip car not running crazy RPM, would a mild, moderate NA cam be better if you were prioritizing low and mid-range power in comparison to a typical blower grind? The centrifugal blower cam is going to be a lot like an NA cam anyways, right? I think he's confusing the positive displacement blower cam with that stuff.
Yeah, because the centrifugal cams are a whole lot like NA cams. The positive displacement cams are the cams that we tend to sacrifice a lot of mid-range torque to make top end horsepower. So they work fine with a positive displacement supercharger, but they are not good cams without a positive displacement supercharger because they lose way too much mid-range torque.
He's a long runner. I mean, on a centrifugal.
Yeah, because you got a rising boost curve and it tends to. Yeah. What's the best LS engine ever? It's whatever the next one I get from the wrecking yard is.
A 6 liter per
you'll get it cheap. It's like 3/4 of a 6 liter. It's just really nice. Okay, here's a porting question. Is the valve seat throat to valve diameter percentage the same for street engines and race engines?
No, for sure not. You know, because a lot of the street strip stuff, you know, you're 89% intake port throat. You know, when you get into race stuff, that's particularly 55 degree. Seat angle stuff. I mean, it might be 92%. So it's all over the place. But 45 degree, 89% works very well for a lot of applications.
Okay, he has a 216, 224 cam, 551 on a 114 in a 370-inch LQ4 with 317 heads. Is it super mild? Yes. It made 366 wheel horsepower, that's pretty good. He wants to know if a 243 head is a good upgrade. Yes. And then something like that 454 comp cam, which is a 227, that would also be a good upgrade. You guys have stuff like that too. That 216 cam is pretty small for that. You can go with definitely more camshaft than that. Some engine builders, David Vizard, really push low LSAs, 105 to 108. With big blocks, is it feasible or practical? Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to turn RPM, right? It's going to be done at 5,500 or 6,000, depends on how.
Well, it depends on how much duration you have, but it works if you have piston to valve clearance. So if you're putting a motor together that has a lot of valve relief, then you can do almost whatever you want with the camshaft and make the power. But yeah, it's also going to depend on where you want power. If you have 105 LSA on something, you're right. It's not going to rev up very far. Let's see. If there is a better than the high port small block Ford.
I was talking 20 degree inline valve specific. For 20 degree inline valve, yeah, the high port's no doubt the best.
Yeah.
20 degree inline valve fit out there. But then once you open the door for, canted valve and different stuff, you get into the, SC1 and, a lot of these other heads, the Elbrock, Victor.
The Cleveland heads.
Yeah. All that stuff is, the GV heads.
Yeah. I have a 2003 2500 Suburban with a 6 liter. We'll be towing 5,000-pound boat. I want low and mid range. Should I keep the 317 heads? And what BTR cam should I use?
LQ4? Yeah.
It's just a 6 liter, but yeah.
Yeah. If it's LQ4, I would put the higher compression 243, 799 heads on there.
Yep.
And then, something like, the torque cam or a stage 1 cam, something small.
Stage 1 truck cam though, right?
Truck cam.
Yeah. What are some future plans for BTR? Are you guys going to develop other motor products? What are some of your short and midterm goals as a company?
We're not saying, right? I mean,
Yes.
obviously there's lots of things we're working on. You know, we have a fairly serious product development department. But you know, you can't show your hand. Right?
Yeah.
So
here's a good one though. What mild cam would you recommend for a 2010 Camaro L99 that retains VVT with a DOD delete?
Yeah, and we're working on some VVT cams for them right now. Basically, we have a stage 2 currently that's pretty good, but yeah, there's certainly great opportunity to make a great camshaft for those, better than all the other stuff that's out there, because no one's really effectively utilized the VVT on the L99 stuff, in my opinion, including us. So there's room for improvement.
Cool. Let's see. Thank you for your content with a 2004 LQ4 with a turbo and 862 heads. Do you recommend pushrod and balancer upgrade? So you're the 862 expert.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They make 862 push rods.
8.62.
Right.
It's 8.62 horsepower, right? for everything,
Right,
regardless.
yeah.
So push rods are going to be a function of the the spring, right? So yeah, if you upgrade the springs to a dual spring, then a push rod upgrade is obviously a good idea. I plan on building a 408. What cam should I use? We're going to need more information than that.
A cam.
Yeah.
It's a 6,000-pound truck or a 3,000-pound Mustang.
Yeah.
You'll need one.
Yeah.
Go 500 horsepower or 700 horsepower.
Is BTR going to support the small block Ford market again? Or are you guys just committed to the LS and I'm sure LT stuff?
You know, obviously I love the small block Ford stuff, but you know, we have to keep moving forward, you know, with the modern production engines, and you know, that Ford market's pretty saturated. So
the 5-liter could come back around.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great engines to develop parts for right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Justin, I don't think BTR is going to make cams for the 4200 inline 6-cylinder, the lucrative 4200 inline 6-cylinder market. Although Nick might make one. If you call Nick, you could talk to him. He was going to sell that cam too. Let's see. What's the best Cathedral port head for a 2006 Chevy Silverado 5.3? Brandon.
220.
Well,
That's what you want to do.
Well, that's
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
were you
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah, a 4862 is not bad.
well, yeah, it depends on your budget, depends on what you want to do. I mean, 243 is not bad.
Yeah.
Brandon free that week.
Yeah.
Brandon needs to finish that
Anything I don't have to port.
YouTube video on how to home port your 862 heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, just send it to Brandon, basically. I have an LQ4 with 799s and a BTR Stage 2. Is that good for 600 horsepower?
With nitrogen.
Yeah, with 7 pounds, that'll work good.
Yeah.
No, that's not enough motor and not enough cylinder head and not enough camshaft to make 600 horsepower. It takes a lot to get 600 out of a 6-liter.
Yeah.
It takes a fairly concerted effort.
Yeah.
What is the max RPM for a stock bottom end 6-liter LQ4, and what cam is good for NA power at that RPM? I've never heard the limit.
I mean, what's the limit on the stock bottom end? 8,000, 8,500? It's really
most people never find the limit of the stock bottom end. They find the limit of the valve train or something else that goes wrong. It's usually not a connecting rod or rod bolt issue with those things. It's usually a valve train thing. And that's with stock rod bolts too. I mean, you know, that stuff doesn't really break unless you have broken something on the top and found its way into the bottom. Looking for 500 to 600 horsepower. See that? Comments like that are, it's hard for me to answer stuff like that, because like a 500 horsepower combination of a 6-liter is like way different than a 600 horsepower.
Yeah.
One of them was like you could just go like this and then grab a camshaft and go, okay, you can put that one in. The other one, you're like, there's nothing on the shelf that can allow me to get there because it's a lot harder. So
I can tell you what you have to do. You get a really good set of trick flow heads, probably a Victor, Super Victor intake,
yeah,
and fly cut your pistons and mill the heads about as much as you can, and You'll make 600.
Yeah, we made 600 when I did the intake shootout, but it was a, you know, we had a piston in it that had valve release in it. It was a flat top with valve release, and it had, that one had AFR 230s on it that had been milled, and it had a, you know, a 239 camshaft in it, and it had all the different intakes, and only the best ones, only the best intakes were up near 600. Like the fast was really close to that, the high ram was close to that and stuff. So it took a lot to get up there. Let's see. Any guess on what power gains would be putting some AFR 265 heads on a Gen 5 454? The gains that you get from that are going to depend on what camshaft you have in there. If you got a stock cam in there, it's not going to be a lot because you're not taking advantage of what those heads have to offer. That head is, the AFR 265 big block head is really, really good, especially for that kind of application, especially if you put any kind of camshaft in it. Let's see. Why will Brian Tooley only ship to my billing address and not to my shipping address?
Well, for first time orders, it's fraud. I mean, we get robbed every day, right? People rob us every day. It's a shame. But once you've established a relationship with us, you know, after a couple months, then we'll ship to other places. Although we've actually had people place their first order, you know, and wait a few months and then drop ship an order and then charge that back, you know. So it's a tough world.
They lull you into a false sense of security. Yeah.
People take advantage of the system.
Oh, this is good. LR4 4.8 liters swapped into a 68 C10 stage 4 BTR cam and springs, long tube headers, built for 065, 3400 stall. Daily driver, is this a good or a bad idea?
That's way too big a cam, in my opinion. I don't think you'll.
Brandon gave it a thumbs down.
I don't think you'll be happy.
Yep. Yeah, no, I on a 4.8, you need to not have a cam like that in there.
You'd be much happier with stage.
But the nice thing though is you can, when you get your cam box, your stage 1 cam box, you should have it in there. You can make that into a 4.
Yeah,
and you can just tell people. Yeah, you can just tell people that you have a 4. Yeah.
Sounds good.
So Peter, are you just going to keep doing that? Yeah, that's pretty dumb. I'm using the BTR Ultimate RPM spring kit on a 4.8. Going to spin it to 8300. What spring should I use? Let's see. What lifter would you guys go with on a 4.8 going to 8300?
I like the Johnson.
Okay.
Link bar.
Oh, Andy, if you're going to use a stock cam on the Gen 5 454, I actually wouldn't even bother with a head upgrade. You could just port the head that you have a little bit or mill it, and you'd be much better off. Let's see. Here's a head start on the R&D for the L99 VVT cams. I hope for the best. Thank you. Yeah, Tim, I agree that 3400 stall on a 4.8, that's not, it's already not good for a daily driver. Let's see. Do you think that the 220 as cast aftermarket Cathedral heads work with a 408 or a 383 LS better?
Well, you know, you got the 220 as cast. You've got two versions: the LS1 and the LS2. Right? One's made for a 3900 bore. The other's made for a 4-inch bore. You know, so if you got the 383, I'd get the LS1 version made for the 3900 bore, and if you got a 408, get the 4-inch bore.
Do those flow differently? Do those two heads flow differently?
They do.
They do.
They have basically the LS1 has the 215 chamber. The LS2 has the 225 chamber. The LS1 has the 2040 intake valve, and the LS2 has the 2050.
Oh, that's right. They changed the intake valves on those too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So do we have more shrouding on one of them, or I mean, because they opened up the bore size or the chamber size a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, the LS2 version. I mean, anytime you go that big on that chamber, that much bigger, it's going to be better. Yeah, that's a pretty good head.
Fred wants to know the difference between 4V and 2V Cleveland heads. The difference is 2. And has anybody ever turboed a Ramjet 350? I'm sure that they have. I haven't done that. I've seen guys run centrifugal blowers on those. That's fairly common. But the 2V and the 4V head are dramatically different. One of them flows a lot more than the other one. The 4V head stuff works really good. We've used that on a bunch, and you can use a 2V head too. I've actually seen ported 2V Australian heads actually work out pretty well because they have the small chambers on them too. What's the gas mileage like with a high stall and a truck?
Relatively poor.
Probably not great, huh? Richard, thank you very much. Let's see.
Unless you drive a lot of highway speed, you get up to speed and lock the inverter, then it's the same.
Draft behind the semi.
There you go. Yeah. Rex, what's going on? Let's see. 5.3 liter trick flow 215 heads worked over by TEA. BBK SSI intake. Once engine 3/4 headers currently have a torquer cam. Do you suggest a better cam?
Yeah, I don't know enough about the torquer cam to say, but obviously any cam can be improved upon.
Yeah, because I think that's a fairly small cam, right? And he's got really good heads on there.
Well, I think he's talking about
it's a V2.
That's a cam from someone else.
Yeah.
The torquer. Right?
Yeah.
So it's it's the upper 220s. So it's.
Gabe, the guys from BTR have not tested the LT2 intake manifold yet, but they are going to. I think you guys have one order or something.
Yeah, I don't know where it's at.
Yeah.
We ordered one.
Mm-hmm. I think who's the guy over at Guatney? I think that they tested that too.
Yeah. Ryan.
Yeah. Yep. I have an LS3 Corvette with a 228, 234, 600, 114 cam, Haltech what's a Haltech intake? Is that a
cold
air intake? Okay, cold air. Okay. Headers that made 470 wheel horsepower. Will porting the A21 heads get it over 500?
No.
I think he needs more cam, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like 231 or 232 or something?
Yeah, you're showering exhaust duration for sure.
Okay. Yeah, because that should be in the 240s, right? That 246 or 248 or something?
Yeah, need to.
When are the BTR rockers going to be back in stock?
Great question. Great question. Yeah, it should be relatively soon. They've been out of stock for a couple months now.
What's the difference between the V1 trunnion upgrades and the original? Isn't that the original? Isn't it V1?
I think they're talking maybe V2 versus V1.
That's what I think. Yeah.
The V1 is made just about like anybody else's trunnion 8620 carburized heat treated steel. The V2 version actually has pressed on inner races made from 52-100 bearing steel, and it's actually also self-lubricating the way it's designed, and so it's the V2 is a much better trunnion. Yeah, we feel it's absolutely the best roller trunnion on the market.
Cool. Jerry wants to know, should I use a 317 or 243 heads on a 6.0 and I'm going to turbo? Jerry, if you're going to, it depends on what turbo you're going with. If you're going with a turbo that makes 1,000 horsepower, just put a good camshaft in it and springs, and you can make the 1,000 horsepower with that turbo and either one of those heads. With the 243 head, it will spool up a little bit better, but ultimately you're still going to be able to make what you need to make with either one of those heads because they'll both work. When will I get my LS7 lifters? Are the LS7 lifters on back order right now?
No, they have been
forever.
I mean, yeah, it's a terrible situation.
Is BTR going to have a cylinder head porting program for the Gen 5, LT1, and L83 and L86?
More than likely, yes.
Okay. Then yes. Let's see. .53, 30 over, Summit 4-inch stroker, so that makes it like a 383, 11-1, 862 heads, 233, 243 cam. Curious of your thoughts on this combo. Well, that should work. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah, it should work fine. What's your opinion on the BR1 versus the TFS 220? What's a BR1?
Must be what Brody said.
Cathedral for BR1.
Okay. Yeah. Does Brodix make a Cathedral head?
They do. We have a box sitting right there on the shelf.
I've never run one of those, so I don't know.
I don't know enough about it to be comment on it.
I've never tested it.
I thought the BR stuff, I mean, if it's out of the box, it's probably not as good as a Trick-Flow 220. I didn't think they actually had a head designed to be run out of the box. I didn't think.
I'm just not familiar. I haven't heard of it. What heads and cam would you recommend for a 95% street-driven LS1? Is it worth even touching the heads? Love the content.
Well, I mean, no expense spared. Trick-Flow 215 head, fast intake, and a relatively small cam, stage 2, stage 3 kind of cam.
Yeah, that'll be good in a 5.7.
Yeah, I mean, with a big cam, you can make 500 with a port match in that.
How much less will like if you port a 241 head, like a 5.7 head, you port that and do valves and stuff like you would. Is that one, how much worse is that than a 243?
Back to back, I mean, it's 10, 20 horsepower.
Okay.
It's, I mean, max effort.
Did you port some of those? The early
241s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
With what's out there now, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mixture motion dam has water behind it.
You can't get rid of that chamber.
Can't get rid of it.
It's just kind of got everything going against it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bad chamber design.
So you should listen to Will Hansel and get a 243 and port those instead, or get the 220 or 215. That probably works good on that 5.7 bore, huh?
That's basically what set and held the record for the longest time on LS1.
Yeah.
Triple head.
I'm going to buy a set of heads for my 6-liter. What's better, a Texas Speed 227 head or a Trick-Flow 230? Does Trick-Flow make a 230? I thought it was a 235.
Yeah, they go from 225 to 235.
That's what I thought.
What was the engine size again?
It doesn't. Oh, 6-liter.
Yeah, 6.0. Yeah, the 225 head. Yes,
okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome head on 6-liter.
Which flows better, an AFR 260 or a Trick-Flow 260? That's going to be, yeah, it's got to be, that's the rec port head, right?
Probably the AFR 255.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I have a back-to-back photo, but the AFR, those 3 heads are a really good head.
Yeah. Love your videos. What's a good NA combo for an 08 Trailblazer with a 5.3, milled 799 heads, headers, cam? Shall I put a stall converter in it? I'm hoping that he wants that to be a daily driver. So a 5.3 with milled 799 243. What cam would you put in that?
What's a converter?
He wants to know what converter so he's open to a converter, obviously.
Oh, well.
So start at a 6500 stall, right?
Go for the moon, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as it locks up, who cares?
Yeah, you put a lockup converter for the good mileage, right? Yeah, there you go. So I don't know, just like a stage 2 or stage 3 or something like that.
I like the stage 2.
Yeah.
And then we also have a new truck camera coming out. So.
Okay. Jason says the BR1 is a 245cc intake port, 6-bolt casting. It resembles the TFS 245 in airflow.
Yeah, but it's a 15-degree head though.
Okay.
I guess.
That's going to kind of be more of a racy head then, right? If it's like a 245.
245 is still not that. I mean, it's not that big for a 400-inch engine.
No, I know, but what does James have on his?
A 245.
Okay, and how much power does that make?
I mean, we've had guys put 245s. I had a guy with a Trailblazer SS LS2.
Yeah.
Pull the 243 heads off and put 245 heads on. He bought them for a 408 nitrous engine he was building, but he's just like, I'm just going to put them on and see what it does on motor and on the spray on the 6.0, this LS2. I was like, go for it.
Yeah.
And the 245 heads ran faster everywhere on motor. It
Nice.
even ran faster than 60 feet. So
Nice.
efficient heads work.
Oh, yeah.
On smaller engines.
Let's see. My current blower cam is a 224 240 116 plus 5, which has exactly 0 overlap. Wouldn't mild moderate NA cam with a narrower LSA and some mild overlap make better mid-range power even on my Procharge car?
Yes.
Yeah.
It really depends on the valve vents, of course. I don't know where those valve vents are offhand. But,
Yeah.
Because you guys got to start to talk valve vents. You got to particularly talk anything about close. It's also open.
You will
with overlap.
They got to learn. They got to learn this part first before they learn this part. Let's see. Do you think we'll continue to enjoy and have E85 readily available, or will the government pull the plug on E85?
We can only cross our fingers and hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. We both got boosted cars that run on E85, so we definitely.
It's so good and so like affordable that you just hate to see that.
Yeah.
Like. The BR3 is 15 degrees. They said.
Yeah. I thought the BR1 was too.
This guy wants BTR to have the discount code wrong cam so they could track all the sales that come from Richard's stuff. Let's see.
Do that.
Increase a mild NA cam may increase octane requirement. That's probably true. If it's going to make more torque, that's certainly possible. Have any of you done any projects with Billy Tilley?
Billy?
I don't know who that is.
Billy Tilley?
Billy Godbold is the only Billy that I know, but is it worth getting red eye heads on a 6.1 Hemi or port stock ones?
Great question.
That is.
I have no clue.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'd like to know.
Yeah. I need to know.
Man, you know.
Because those are the Hellcat heads, right? Is that what he's talking about?
The red eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, or demon heads. I don't know which one they. I can tell you that if you get a late model set of Hemi heads, whether it's an Apache head or an Eagle head, you're starting out with something that's like already really impressive. Yeah, not many people. It's like the LS3 stuff. If you have a ported set of LS3 heads, you have to have a lot of motor to use all of that head. I mean, when we did the test on the LS3 stuff, we made almost 700 horsepower with a stock LS3 head, just because we had a lot of motor that we were testing it on.
Yeah.
And then that was the only way, because we had such a big motor, where we could get fairly reasonable gains when we put ported LS3 heads on. Because if you put a ported LS3 head on a LS3, even a cammed LS3, the gains are not that big. Because, yeah, no, you just can't, it needs more motor. Let's see. 01 Tahoe 5.3, looking for a cam that will work with my stock converter and that will give a noticeable lope with good drivability, since this is a truck in and out of town.
Truck stage 2, V2.
Yeah. Problem solved.
Yeah. Call me.
What cam is recommended for a daily driven 5.3 to keep it smog legal in California?
Ooh.
The stock one.
I bet the torque. The 202 torque.
Well, there's no doubt that if you have the cats and all that stuff in place, that it will easily pass a test. But that might not be what you want to do, though. Does the philosophy that a good NA cam is a good boosted cam apply to nitrous? So you can answer that first. I know what I always tell them.
Well, I mean, nitrous typically wants more duration and, particularly more exhaust duration, more lift, so yeah, no, I mean, they are similar. NA, supercharged nitrous, I mean, they definitely have similarities.
Most of these guys that I'm dealing with are not like pro mod guys or anything like that. They're more guys that want heads, cam, and intake. Yeah. And then they make a certain amount of power, and then if they're going to add nitrous to it, you just add the nitrous to whatever that power is. Yeah. They're not building a dedicated nitrous thing that doesn't run as well on motor as it might if you are trying to okay, now I'm running so much nitrous in it that now I have to worry about getting it out. They're more interested in, if I make 600 horsepower and then I add a 200 shot to that, is it now going to make 800? And really it will. So here's a question. 5.3 LS, 30 over, BTR rockers, BTR stage 4 turbo cam, twin VSR 7875. So he's stepping up. Johnson short travel lifters, one-piece push rods. Will it make power to 8,000? But he didn't tell us something that's very important.
I think it will. I mean, that's a lot of turbo. That's a lot of camshaft.
Well, he's got. I mean, not going to 8,000. Is not like he's got 2,000 horsepower with the turbo there, but with the turbos because he's got twins. But he didn't say anything about the intake manifold though.
Yeah, well, an equalizer, BTR equalizer.
Yeah, so if you have a short runner intake and or if you have a rising boost curve, you can continue to make power out there. So he's saying one-piece push rods. Are guys using like multi-piece push rods for that stuff?
Not for hydraulic roller.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
It's usually one piece. But we are testing 3-piece.
Yeah. Have you tried the adjustable ones with the inserts and stuff in them, the comp cells?
Yeah, we got some.
Okay. How much boost can I apply to my new cast pistons?
With E85 and meth, a lot more than you would think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, after we did what we have done to some of these junkyard motors, you know, it's like 1,500 horsepower, 1,300 foot-pounds or so, and it's a cast crank and powdered metal rods and cast pistons. And where is that strength limit at? You know, that's
How good is your tuner?
Yeah, that's the thing. All of that has to be right. And we have ice water in the intercooler, and we have obviously lots of octane, and we're fairly conservative on the tune, and we're not loading it with 1 million foot-pounds and stuff. So there's a lot going on there. Okay, here's a good one on twin GT45, the low dollar 700 horsepower turbos. You have twins. You're going to make 4-digit numbers. All forged 821 heads. What would BTR recommend on a 6-liter with forged and 821 rep port heads?
I'd go twin turbo stage 1.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it doesn't say that. It just. I'm sure that that's probably if it's an 821 head, I'm hoping that it's a stock LS3 intake. Could Brian speak when larger than 5/16 push rods are needed on an LS application?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we spintron tested it, and
Gavin's on here.
They just haven't seen a lot there, right? I mean,
yeah,
the folklore is that, oh my God, you got to have bigger than 5/16 push rods, but then you actually spin this stuff in the spintron, and that's not really what the spintron is telling you. So.
Point of note, though, all Gen 5 engines have 11/32 push rods in there. So
yeah.
GM knew something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they were on sale.
Yeah, I mean, larger push rods certainly aren't going to hurt you, but
But they're a lot longer too.
we've made a lot of power with 5/16 push rods.
Guys are offering up when length exceeds a certain, like 7.6 inches, that it's a good idea. The other thing, I did a test on wall thickness. So when I ran the push rod test, we ran the length test to show what happens when you compress the lifter and you turn it into a short travel lifter, essentially get rid of all the aerated fuel or the fluid and stuff. So we did that test, but I also did, while I was there, we did like 80 and 105 wall thickness push rods to see if the guys from Trend wanted me to do it, to see if there was a difference in deflection and if that would manifest itself with power at all. And I saw no difference at all. I mean, the things were like not within like less than 1 horsepower. They were exactly an overlay.
Yeah. And
all I had on that was I think all we had were like your dual springs on it or something, because it wasn't a real. It was a less than 500 horsepower 5.3 that we were going to 72 or 300, I think. And it had already made peak power. We just wanted to rev it to see if something was going to happen out farther. But I didn't see any deflection, and maybe we guys would see that on the spintron, maybe, but I didn't.
Haven't really seen it.
Yeah, we've tested 5/16, 11/32, 3/8, and depending on the load, it hasn't done a single thing. And our 670 horsepower LT1 engine had a factory push rod in it with a dual spring.
Richard, what's the RPM range on a BTR stage 3 turbo can?
Depends on intake manifold, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you get a short runner intake, you're going to be able to turn it, over 7,000.
Yeah, and a rising boost curve and all that stuff you can.
Once again.
Let's see.
Rising boost curve for the win.
Exactly. That's why centrifugals do that. Yeah. And a rising boost curve like that for the for the big bang stuff too, because that makes life a lot easier for us to. And we haven't done it yet because I've just been running a manual wastegate controller, but we now have one that we can run that's RPM dependent, so we can not have it make 1,350 foot-pounds of torque and have it just make a big peak number that, you know, that's a big gee whiz thing. When will LT motors overtake the LS in popularity?
You know, I don't know what it's going to take. You know, I think it's just time. People are really intimidated, I think, by the direct injection. Initially, I was intimidated by the direct injection. And then when, you know, finally you go to hook it up on the dyno, you're like, oh, it's exactly the same low side as any other Gen 3, Gen 4 LS, you know, so the people will eventually warm up to it. You know, I guess the biggest problem with it really is aftermarket PCM support. You know, Haltech and Holly and some of these guys really need to get on board with offering, you know, affordable PCMs that'll drive the direct injectors. And 16 injectors. So you got direct import. At the point that happens, those engines are going to get really popular. It's definitely better.
As soon as they make it easier for people to like use them, because I mean, I haven't even done any boosted stuff just because of the like fueling stuff is, you know, is a little prohibitive.
The more they make too, the more, you know, the longer they make it, the more. Then that drives aftermarket because there's so many of them out there. Then you say, okay,
and the LSF is popular now because there's like a bajillion of them in the wrecking yard that a guy can go buy for nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
We can't do that with Coyotes. We can't do that with LTs, at least not yet, but that's coming. Let's see. When do you recommend going to a custom cam? After you've exhausted all of the shelf cams.
Well, it depends on application, because when you've got a combination.
He has a combination. I was going to.
You've got an engine that, let's say it's a production engine. It's a L83. It's a LT1. It's a LS3. It's a, you know, a production engine. LSA. If it's a production engine, the need for a custom cam is almost never, right? Because, you know, you look at the 3 months we spent developing L83 cams, or the 3 months we spent developing LT1 L86 cams, no one's going to grind you a custom cam that's going to make as much power as that stuff, you know. But then when you've got, you know, anything that's different from a production engine, then you definitely get into applications where a custom cam is probably going to benefit you.
He has got a 6-liter Gen 4 using a PDS BTR stage 2, 8 pounds. Peak torque isn't until 6150. Seems later than designed. Short intake runners, obviously. If it's a, I don't know who's. He doesn't say what. Oh,
it doesn't seem right. Yeah.
It doesn't say what blower he has on there. I don't know what the you know, the positive displacement blower is going to have a really short runner. So I don't know that. I haven't run too many of those. So.
Unless it's a Whipple, because a Whipple is really a screw instead of a positive displacement, and so it's going to act more like a centrifugal. So maybe it's a Whipple, right?
They're both positive displacement blowers, but they're just different designs.
Yeah, but a Whipple creates a power curve kind of.
Yeah, if it has enough displacement to do that. Yep. What cam does he recommend for towing in the L83?
Oh wow! I tell you, I am so impressed with these VVT cams. You know, the ability to you know, advance them. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid of the stage 1, 2, or 3. I mean, they all make the exact same low speed torque back to back on the engine dyno. So, you know, I would love to see somebody use a stage 2 or stage 3. I'd probably keep to the 2. It's a 210 intake duration. But I think you could tow with that with stock converter, no problem.
Yeah.
Because it makes more torque everywhere than the stock cam does. So it works really well.
Okay, so now we're gonna have to. This is not one of the questions, but we're gonna have to decide how much these parted heads are gonna flow.
Let's take bets online.
Okay, you guys all need to chime in.
You can win a 6-liter here. Whoever gets the
yeah. Well, you can win you can win the oil pan off the 6-liter. We want everybody to take a guess on ported 8.6 hand ported, like quickie hand ported, still the stock valve size, no change in valve job, just like your kind of do-it-yourself home porting for the 862 heads. What are they going to flow? So somebody mentioned you guys try to answer and figure out what you think that they're going to flow. And then tomorrow we'll post the results of what the flow numbers were, and maybe we'll pick somebody and I can give them something, a shirt or something. And so you guys go ahead and guess and let us know what you think. How much will the ported 862 heads flow with stock valves and stock valve? And when we say stock valve job, we mean the one that came from the wrecking yard stock valve job. You guys saw the post. If you guys follow the Instagram, you saw James doing the valve job with the drill and the lapping compound. So you know how it was being done. So let us know. Ooh, 290.
Wow. Wow.
Maybe there's supposed to be a 1 in front of that.
Better get back to work.
Yeah.
On a 125 bore fixture. So for those guys that know how that might affect the numbers.
391.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Okay. Sean, the Ameribera is coming. 284, 215. See, 215. We like Karen. Yeah, we like that. Yeah, 274. Yeah, 316. How long did you take porting, and how much experience does the porter have? Tim, it's Brian Tooley, the guy that owned, and Brandon, the guys that ran Total Engine Airflow. So they know.
Total Engine Airflow, we never ever ported a stock head with a stock valve job and a stock 189 intake valve.
I take that back, Tim. They know nothing about it.
The first thing we did was we threw those valves away and we at least a 2-inch valve.
Yeah. That was the valve that you used to do the chamber that you didn't care about, that you were going to throw away. Yeah, the dummy valve. Yeah. So you have all that. The 330, I like that. 316. Yeah. Wow. Here's a good one, Dale. We like Dale. 245 and 200.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
252. Yeah, the head's the same as the 706. 270, 225. Yeah, but did it 420. Nice. 253, 240-ish. I'm going 330. You guys should all be saying 8, because that's how much power it's going to add.
Yeah.
All right. We've been doing this, I think, long enough. Make sure to check back tomorrow, and we'll see. You guys can step up, and we can figure out who. We'll let you guys know, and you guys can even lie to us, because we won't go back and look at the other video and see who guessed what. But we'll let you know tomorrow what they flow after we find out, and by then we will have hopefully run them, and we know how much power they gain too. So we'll have we might be able to play a little something there too. Thanks you guys, everybody, for joining, and we will see you guys all tomorrow. Say goodbye. They're still watching. Don't do anything stupid.